Your pair of LARP boots just bit the dust. Time to say goodbye to those faithful friends who carried you along through so many amazing adventures. Or is it? Let me show you how to get a little more mileage out of turning an old pair of LARP boots into a pair of bracers. This pair came from a thrift store before the pandemic. I would never wear these out in the field at a boffer LARP. I would wear them maybe at an indoor parlor LARP maybe. Yeah, that's just asking for a broken ankle or a busted kneecap. Yeah. What's your favorite trusty piece of your LARP kit? Let me know in the comments.
This version of the boots to bracers is going to be a no-sew version, but I will also cover how you can do this project with the sewing machine. The boots I have are faux leather. At first, I thought I would use rivets to hold the layers of fabric together and make it look awesome, but I realized that the raw edges of the layers would still show, eventually fray, and not look good. Instead, I chose to use bias tape to give it that finished edge. If your boots are made of one layer of pretty thick leather, I would skip the bias tape. I'm providing a link to the bracers pattern in the comments in 3 different sizes. What you'll need for this project. List is available in the description. Rivets come in different sizes, so choose the one that best fits your project. First, you're going to need to cut off the shoe part of the boot. My good fabric scissors went missing since the move, making cutting through these boots quite challenging. I wanted to keep the top solid knee cuff of the boot intact, so I chose to cut along the back seam of the boot. After cutting the pattern, I laid the pattern in various positions on the boot to determine the best way to use the material. Originally, I wanted to use the edging of the knee cuff, but my pattern didn't quite fit, so I would have to use the sides. While laying out this pattern, I realized that I would be able to get 2 sets of bracers out of this project. So, you could make an extra pair for yourself, or another pair for a friend, or a pair to donate to your favorite small indie LARP. Using your permanent marker or tailor's chalk, trace the pattern on the underside of the fabric or leather. Cut out the shape. Make sure your fuzzies are safely out of the way. This is where the clamps are going to start being helpful if you're going to work with layers of fabric. We aren't using pins because we don't want the puncture of the faux leather to leave holes. Plus, most pins would break. I'm using 77 spray adhesive to help keep the layers together. Starting on the underside of the bracer, open your bias tape all the way and glue the edge of the fabric in a way that if you folded the bias tape over, the exterior side would fold over the seam. Think of it like the bias tape is clamping over the ugly unfinished seam. When you hit a corner, pinch the corner in to make a triangle and continue gluing around the edge. We haven't folded and glued the other side yet. If you are using a sewing machine, this is where you would be using the straight stitch to sew the bias tape into the bracer. Once you've glued or sewn the open of the bias tape around the edge, turn the bracer over, wrap the bias tape fold over the raw edge, and glue or sew it into place. I'm using a small paintbrush to help and to keep my fingers from getting burnt. Let's take a look on how to turn those corners again. I'm adding glue to the corner pocket and pinching the corner together. Then I put a dab of glue on the other side of the corner, fold over, and press. Trim the excess tails off the ends of the bias tape. Cutting at an angle helps decrease the bulk. Double fold over and glue. I'm adding rivets to the corners as a flourish and to help keep the corners intact. You can use a leather punch or fabric hole punch to make a hole for the rivets. Sometimes using a leather awl helps as well. Use a rivet setter to set them in place. There's usually instructions with your kit, or you can find a lot of videos online. Use the bracer pattern as a template to set the placement of your eyelets or grommets. I'm using eyelets because the only grommets I had around the house were too big for this project. Just like the rivets, use a hole punch and setter for your eyelets or grommets. To give the bracers more character, we are going to do some weathering. I'm using 2 different shades of watered down brown acrylic paints and a dry brush to paint onto the bracers. Next, I'm using sandpaper to scratch up the hardware and roughen up the fabric. And now we have bracers instead of throwing out those boots.
So now you don't have to say goodbye to that favorite pair of LARP boots. Now you have a pair of bracers. If you are new to this channel, hi, I'm Mackenzie Jameson. Hit that subscribe and that bell to let you know when the next video is coming up. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters. Right now, I am not going to be collecting your pledges for the videos that I produce. Instead, if you can, I want to encourage you to take the money that usually comes this way and put it towards causes and people who really need the support right now. Other ways that you can help this channel is especially sharing these videos, liking, and leaving comments down below. Let me know what's your favorite LARP piece that you would hate to part with, and maybe it's falling apart. Maybe we can talk about what to do with it next. Give it another life. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you guys. Now, you don't have to say goodbye to those favorite pair of LARP boots yet. LARP boots, because LARP boots are cool. LARP.